What is going on, nerds? Hello, nerds! Nerds for humanity. Well, I know a lot of you have been with me for a while. You remember during the 2020 election, we would do weekly updates on the state of the race using data and lots of it. Well, we're going to try and do it again this time. Hopefully you all will find it useful, and as you're watching this, if you're finding it useful, you've got a lot of options to either like, share, subscribe, or if you're watching me live, go ahead and hit me up. Super chats are working, and you can also join and become a member to help us keep this channel going. All right, so with that, hey Patrick, good to see you. I've been awesome. I'm excited about Wednesday's debate. But before we get into that, let's get into the latest polls on who's winning in the national polls in terms of Republican nomination among registered Republicans. And this is not really much of a race so far nationally among people who are still Republicans. It's a small group, but there are still people who do identify as Republican. And 62% of those kind of bitter enders support Donald Trump. They really love this guy, which isn't surprising because I know a ton of Republicans who've left the party because of Trump. So a lot of times the people that are left over are just the MAGA folks. So there was a lot of talk of DeSantis after, he did so well in his election in 22 that he was going to be, kind of the heir apparent. But, unfortunately for DeSantis supporters, nationally, he's at 16, a distant second. And Vivek Ramaswamy is probably the most interesting candidate. He has a little bit of a Yangian vibe to him in terms of came out of nowhere, really articulate, super smart. He's kind of like a Republican Andrew Yang, kind of like an Indian Yang, if there is such thing. So that'll be interesting to see, what's Vivek up to? Is he running for VP? Is he going to pull a Buttigieg and get a cabinet position, or does he have a shot at actually getting the nomination? Let's see. Let me know in the chat where you're joining from if you're here live. Jeremy says, who's also a channel member, so thank you for being a member. Jeremy, I'm glad you like evening streams. I'll try and do more of them in the future. Yeah, usually I do weekend mornings, and I know that's tough, but that's kind of when I'm able to sneak away from work and family obligations. Think Beyond. Oh, Beverly says, hello, nerds. Hello, Beverly. Ooh, Patrick Dunn got the super chat working. Dude, you're going to get a gong for that, Patrick. The nerd gong. Thanks, Patrick Dunn. Have I seen Vivek's interview on the All In Pod? I did, and I thought he did really well. Certainly thought he did better than, and I know I'm gonna probably upset a lot of people, but I think he did a lot better than RFK Jr., who to me kind of came across a little bit out there. Jeremy's joining from St. Louis, Missouri. Where they thanks for the gong. You're welcome. Thank you for being a member. Patrick, where are you joining us from? Yeah, RFK Jr. Definitely, he's a bit out there. He's no JFK, that's for sure. He's no RFK Sr. Okay. Think Beyond says, hello, nerds! The MSM is finally talking about Article 3 of the 14th Amendment. Shouldn't they have been talking about that since January 6th? The media has been talking about Trump's sort of fitness for office for a long time. And on the one hand, maybe they should be pushing it more. I do think the Georgia indictment is going to be hard for him to wiggle out of because I think it might have been Jeremy, but someone reminded me that the governor cannot pardon Trump if he's convicted. So now, will he get convicted? Maybe unlikely because I think you get one hold on the jury and you're good to go. But Jackson, did I miss? Yes, the gong came out because Patrick Dunn hooked me up with a super chat, and that $2 is going to go towards our Libsyn, which is our podcast hosting fees, and StreamYard for our streaming costs. So appreciate it. All right, let's keep going on this national YouGov poll, which was just conducted a few days ago, finished up on August 18th. You got Trump at 62, DeSantis 16, Vivek at 7, Mike Pence at 5, which is a little more than I've seen for Pence in the past. Tim Scott 3, Nikki Haley, kind of disappointing. A lot of people thought Nikki would go better than that. And then Chris Christie, he's putting up the good fight, but only at 2% nationally. And then Doug Burgum and Asa at 1 and 1. So what are we seeing here from the data? We're seeing that it's likely going to be a Trump nomination with DeSantis and Ramaswamy in the mix. Now, we also should remind ourselves that the nomination of a party is not done nationally, but this does give us a kind of a pulse of how the country in total is doing. Republican debate. Trump's opponents should focus more on what? Making the case for themselves or making the case against Trump. 91% of Republicans want the candidates to talk about why they should be president and maybe leave Trump out of it, which is interesting. I guess voters, maybe primary voters, feel like, hey, I know what I've made up my mind on whether Trump is good or bad, and I don't need the candidates to remind me. I think they're going to get a lot of reminders from Chris Christie, and I think his position is, hey, if you want to run for the top spot, you have to convince people why you're better than the guy in the top spot. But according to primary voters, they want people making the case for themselves. Let's see. Latest Trump indictment. Which concerns you more? Wow. GOP primary voters feel that the indictment is politically motivated. So time out, guys. Nobody made the Trump team create the fake electors. Nobody made Rudy Giuliani lie under oath. Nobody forged electoral college documentation or lied to public officials. Like, that was all done by Trump and his team. So then when he gets indicted for this, and Giuliani and Jenna Ellis and Sidney Powell and the whole lot of them, to say, oh, this is politically motivated, is like, well, dude, if you didn't do anything wrong, there'll be nothing to indict you for. Answer for why you created alternate votes in a presidential election after the election's done. Only 8% of Republican primary voters believe that Trump tried to overturn or are concerned about the fact that Trump tried to overturn the presidential election. I mean, that, and only 15% feel both, that it's politically motivated and he tried to overturn. So if some of you are saying like, hey, Tom, you're being kind of hard on the Republicans, saying that it's just Trumpers that are left in the party, I mean, how else do you explain this? It's clearly the party of Trumpers. The Republican Party is the party of Trumpers. Only 8% of likely Republican Party primary voters are concerned about Trump trying to overturn the 2020 election. Unbelievable. Um, okay, Jackson is saying, who's also a member. Jackson, all member chats get cowbell. Jackson is saying, "Hey, I keep hearing people saying Vivek is smart, but I'm not seeing it. Raising the voting age, running country like Elon, giving Ukraine to Russia. What am I missing?" I think what you're missing, Jackson, is not that Vivek has these amazing policy positions, although it does appeal to a lot of the kind of similar like RFK supporters on Ukraine. But he is super articulate. He thinks fast on his feet. He's confident. He's everything that Biden and Trump aren't. And so I have to tip my hat off to Vivek. And if any of you are watching this are connected to the Ramaswamy campaign, I would love to interview Vivek. And you can watch my previous interviews of other political figures. I'm very fair and kind of try and keep it very cordial. But yeah, that's I think the thing with Vivek Jackson is not that he has these amazing innovative policies, but I really do think how he conveys himself and how he conveys his ideas and comports himself really set him apart from Trump and Biden, who really seem like kind of very elderly statesmen. Let's see. Think Beyond is saying Vivek is not a Republican Yang. Yang was genuine. Vivek is like Jordan Peterson, eloquent speaker, but totally full of crap. I hear you on that one, Think Beyond. I think there is a chance, a good one, that in a private conversation 20, 30 years from now, if we said to Vivek, hey man, you used to be a libertarian, and then you decided to go make your whole thing about wokeism and going after trans people or whatever, like why did you do that? I think he would say, well, that's kind of what I needed to do to get the base fired up, that they wouldn't have been open to a less government, more efficient government argument, which is probably true. That anybody running in the Republican primary who's talking about balanced budgets, entitlement reform, kind of a sensible foreign policy, like they're not going to do well in this Republican Party. Jeremy says that Vivek is like Yang, being that he is an internet phenomenon that wouldn't have gained traction otherwise. That's probably true. I don't think a lot of the mainstream media was giving Vivek the time of day. But now they are. And part of it is because he caught traction on the web. Top reasons for considering Trump by likely GOP voters, primary voters. Things were better under Trump. Hmm. I remember 2020. That kind of sucked. And it wasn't made any better by Trump being so kind of flip-floppy on COVID and like saying you could drink bleach and undermining his own kind of public health experts, but then secretly getting vaccinated in his basement with his family. Like that's just kind of weird. But Republican primary voters believe that things were better under Trump, and that they believe that he is fighting for people like them. That he's not some reality sort of TV, actor, kind of scammy marketer, narcissist. No, 95% of Republicans who participate in the Republican primary believe that Trump is fighting for them. And then 76% they know him better and they've always been a supporter. But the first two are pretty crazy. Yeah, fights for people like me. I mean, by cutting taxes for the rich, by not reforming healthcare, what did he do for people like the Republican primary voter, other than insulting all the Democratic Party elites, which might in some ways be enough. Let me know in the comments if you think that's what they're talking about. Like when he kind of takes it to the New York Times and, the deep state and all the quote unquote experts who have all this education, like, is that fighting for people like you? Oh, he stacked yeah, well, so he did. And so maybe that's what they mean by putting kind of pro-life people in the Supreme Court. Could be. That's a fair theory, Jackson. Yeah, I'd love to ask a follow-up in the poll of like, oh, when was a time that he fought for you? And see what they say. And I could see, it might be the Supreme Court. I think it's more of like a feeling, like, well, he's kind of like disruptive and blowing up the system. Okay, so let's keep going. Show support during legal fights. A reason you're considering Trump. 73% of people who are considering Trump are doing it out of loyalty and sort of like alliance with the people that are against Trump. So this is, I think, one of those enemy of my enemy is my friend's thing for the GOP voters. Let's see. Jeremy is saying fighting is enough. Actually winning and delivering are less important. It's vibes. Yeah, I think so. I was actually talking to my MAGA brother. I'm trying to get him back on the show. Let me know in the comments if I should keep trying. Because he's like, do the people really want to hear from me? I was like, totally, dude. And he was saying like, yeah, Trump did so much. And I was like, well, what exactly did he do? And he's like, well, he secured the border. And I was like, wow. He built like 30 miles of wall. And then he had a policy of putting children in cages. Whereas Biden, you have the Inflation Reduction Act, you have the CHIPS Act, you have improved health care for veterans, you have Medicare being able to negotiate pharmaceutical prices. And then MAGA brother was like, well, I don't know about that Biden stuff. I just know that everything's gone terribly. And I was like, don't. I would love for people to bring more facts. But unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever the case may be, people vote with feelings. Vote for GOP nomination. Among those who say honesty is very important, 61% who say honesty is very important support Donald John Trump. So let that sink in. Of the people in the Republican Party who are likely to vote in the primaries, who also say that to them, honesty is very important, most of them are going to support Donald J. Trump. I think even hardcore Trump supporters would admit that this guy is not honest. That he, at a minimum, exaggerates, twists the facts, takes things out of context, and sometimes just like draws Sharpies around like scientific weather forecasts. I don't know if you guys heard the audio of Trump talking about the Iran war plan. Let me see if I can play it for you. Fine, this is a little bit off script, but whatever. Trump audio, Iran war plan. Okay, so let's do a quick change here. And just before I play it, I want you all to remember that Trump's official position is that he was not referring to any specific document, that he was talking about news articles. And this is an audio recording of him and his staff talking to a publisher of a book, I think for Mark Meadows, the writer for Mark Meadows' upcoming book. And so obviously Trump's trying to influence the book's spin. And he tries to do this by suggesting that, hey, my advisors were planning wars with Iran, and here's the proof. And this is where Trump critics would say, like, why are you holding this in Florida in your storeroom in your golf club? Like, if it's a confidential war plan about going to war with another country, like, why is that in your possession? And you violated the same confidentiality laws that you ran on in 2016, saying that, wow, Hillary doesn't take care of confidential information. Now, Trump's response is, no, I wasn't referring to any specific document. There was no specific war plan. I was talking about news clippings and like piles of golf shirts or something like that. So let's see.
But we are going to begin. Donald Trump is in Washington.
Defense Department. Newly obtained audio recording may be a key piece of evidence in special counsel Jack Smith's case that alleges former President Trump put national security at risk by mishandling classified documents, including one he suggested was prepared by Joint Chiefs Chair General Mark Milley.
I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but
okay, so he says, I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look, this was him. They presented me this. Now, Trump's and his attorneys are saying he was referring to news articles, but why would they present him news articles? It sounds like he's talking about an actual document.
they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him.
So is he saying that there was a news article about war, and then he's like, hey, look, the Washington Post wrote a news article about war plans in Iran. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. In what world does that make sense that he's not talking about an actual document?
According to the indictment, the recording from 2021 captured a conversation Trump had at his New Jersey golf club with a book writer, a publisher, and 2 staffers, none of whom are believed to possess a security clearance.
Let's see here.
Take a look. Look here. Take a look. Isn't that amazing? Now, if it were just a news article, why would it be amazing? And why would this totally win your case?
Yeah. I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, you know. Mm-hmm. Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. Look at this.
The audio recording appears to contradict Trump's recent claim that there were no documents and the material was just newspaper clippings.
That was a massive amount of papers and everything else talking about Iran and other things. And it may have been held up or may not, but that was not a document. I didn't have a document per se. There was nothing to declassify. These were newspaper stories, magazine stories, and articles.
Trump.
Let me know in the comments if you believe what the former president and likely nominee for the Republican Party is saying about his possession and sharing of potentially confidential, most sensitive information with a book writer, laughing about it, saying, look here, look at this. Okay, let's keep going. I'm sorry, we're supposed to be talking about the poll, but it went off track here. All right, we got this. Let's go back. Okay, so that was honesty. Republican primary voters feel that Trump is honest. Feel what they tell you is true. Trump 71%. 63% feel that their friends and family tell them what they tell them is true. 56% so Republican primary voters feel that only 56% feel that conservative media figures tell them what is true. And only 42% of Republican primary voters feel that their own religious leaders tell them what is true. Basically, they feel that Trump is more truthful to them than their own friends and family, than even conservative media figures, and their own religious leaders. Yeah. Homeboy's definitely going to get the nomination. Whether you like him or not, man, whatever's left of the Republican Party, and definitely the primary voters, they are all in on the orange man. Okay, what have you heard about most for the GOP 2024 campaign? Trump, economy, social. Mostly Trump. It's interesting. I'm kind of glad that social and cultural topics is smaller. I think that certainly the economic and financial topics is much more important. And certainly like Trump to the extent that, you know, we honored the Constitution. 50% say it's too much about Trump. 30% say it's just about right. And 19% says not enough about Trump. Would they beat Biden? Percent of primary voters saying definitely. 61% feel that Trump would definitely beat Biden, but only 35% think that DeSantis would definitely beat Biden. So this is a problem if you're trying to challenge Trump in the primary, that those primary voters, the ones that also think that the 2020 election was won by Trump, even though he lost like 60 court cases, and I think Georgia did 3 or 4 recounts, all showing that he lost. They believe that Trump is most likely, yes, think beyond. I would like to see Will Hurd in the nerd zone too. I've asked Will, as best I can, if anybody knows anyone that works on that campaign or wants to tweet at Will or his team, let them know. Be really happy to talk about it. So this is part of the problem for the challengers, that the voters in the primary, again, in the primary, believe that Trump is most likely to beat Biden. Which is why if he gets the nomination and he loses to Biden, they are going to be pissed. And they're going to say, I cannot believe we lost. We had more boat parades. We had more, you know, rallies with bigger flags. Like, how is it that our man lost? And if Trump says it was stolen again, like, what's the word? It's going to be wild, as they say on January 6th. Crazy. DeSantis, would he beat Biden? In June, half of Republican primary voters did. So this is fair now. We have to be fair to the Trump supporters. It's not just that they're super loyal to Trump, but they feel a lot let down by DeSantis. That half of them actually thought that he would definitely beat Biden as recently as June, and now only 1/3 do. So basically, you've got Trump remaining strong and his top competitor, DeSantis, just crashing and burning. So, hello, Nicholas. Yes, the Ron DeSanctimonious is not performing well, and Crooked Donald, his people love him, man. They love him. Okay, so I think, top reasons for considering candidates other than Trump. Just keeping options open. Half of them, almost half, are waiting to see the debate. At least 40% acknowledge that Trump brings a lot of controversial baggage. And then a third are concerned about his legal fight. So this is encouraging for DeSantis and probably Vivek. You know, if it were up to me, I would love to see Christie do better, but I don't think that's in the cards. But I appreciate the Christie giving it the college try. So this is interesting. Like, it means the door's open. It means that most of the GOP primary voters are with Trump, but they're willing to consider others. At least for the ones that are considering others, they're willing to keep their options open. They want to see the debate. Yes, you're right, Patrick. Good catch. So only a plurality aren't considering others, right? Yeah. So I think most people are not considering others, but for those who are, they're gonna wait to see the debate. And if one of the people performs really well in the debate, maybe that shakes things up. Who knows? Okay, let's keep going. Republican debate. Very important to hear about inflation, crime, and immigration. I think those are great topics. I hope they talk about all three of them. By counting the votes on Jan 6, Mike Pence did the right thing. Non-MAGA. Oh, okay, this is pretty bad. So only half of non-MAGA GOP voters feel that Pence did the right thing. Which is interesting because, as a reminder, the Trump legal team will tell you, hey, the president just asked Pence to pause, to kind of take a beat, let us kind of let the states recertify. But what they don't tell you is that behind the scenes, as we now know from the Georgia indictment and the Jan 6, the Jack Smith indictment, that the Trump team was preparing alternate electoral votes, just like they have alternate facts. And by pushing back the certified results to the states, and then concurrently having these alternate votes being presented at each state level, it would have created complete mayhem and confusion. Nonetheless, 48%, less than half of non-MAGA primary voters think Pence did the right thing. 37% are still not sure. Of the MAGA voters, okay, let's give some credit to the MAGA people. At least 1 out of 5 MAGA voters feel like he did the right thing, and 40% feel that they were not sure. So only 40% of the MAGAns feel that he did the wrong thing. So that is kind of encouraging, that there was at least some diversity of opinion about Pence. Now, I would argue, like, come on, guys, like, the Constitution is pretty clear. Imagine if Vice President Biden rejected the state votes for Trump and wanted to push those back, and then the Hillary Clinton campaign produce alternate electoral votes. Like, can you imagine what Fox News and Newsmax would have said about that? Jesus. All right. Wow, that was a lot of discussion of one poll. I've got more data, but I do think it's 30 minutes in, so I do want to remind you that if you haven't yet and you find this content interesting, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't. If you like podcasts and you're watching this on YouTube, go ahead, subscribe on your podcast, and vice versa. All right. And if anybody wants to support the fees, unfortunately, right now, the membership dues do not cover the hosting fees for Nerds for Humanity. So we're kind of a money-losing operation. But if you want to join and become a member, I would appreciate it. Nicholas is saying, Cornell West. Yes, I would love to have him on the show too. Brother Cornell. Think Beyond is saying, Constitution also clear Trump is already disqualified. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons why he should be disqualified, but we'll see. I think like the Constitution also said that the vice president is there in a ceremonial role and is not supposed to overturn the results, and yet a lot of Trump supporters believe that Pence really did have that power. Okay. Jeremy saying, didn't the DNC do that to Bernie with the superdelegates? Yes, the superdelegates definitely did help Bernie, but I think the superdelegates were introduced prior to the primary starting. So it wasn't like Bernie was winning and then they, at the last, kind of in the middle of the primaries, added the superdelegates. You could argue they saw it coming and that's why they added the superdelegates. I'm not here to defend the Democratic Party. I find a lot of issues with them as well. But I think if I had to compare like the craziness of the Republican Party right now versus the Democratic Party, like it's not even comparable in my view. Okay, so let's move on now to you're probably saying to yourself, hey, the nomination is not decided by national votes. It's decided by Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. How is Trump doing in those campaigns? Well, you've come to the right place, nerds. So let's now look at some recent Iowa polling. Again, smash that freaking like button. Do it! Okay. August 17th is the latest poll. Trump is ahead 42-19. So not quite as much as he is in the national polls, but he is plus 23. He was plus 30 in July. So you could argue like, ooh, he went from let's see here. He went from plus 40 in May, and then he was plus 15 in June, plus 23 in July, plus 27 July, plus 24 July, and now plus 26, plus 23. And then you see DeSantis was as high as 30 in April, and now he's at 19. Tim Scott was at 1 in April, and now he's at 9. Vivek was at 2, and now he's at somewhere between 4 and 6. Nikki Haley's been at 5 and 6 the whole way through. Mike Pence, a little bit of a bump from 2 to 6. Christie from not even showing up to 5. Burgum from not showing up to 2. Asa Hutchinson from 1 to 0. Hurd from nothing to 1. And Elder from nothing to nothing. So what's the takeaway from Iowa? You've got Trump still ahead by at least 25 points. And then you've got the next tier being DeSantis, Scott, and then maybe a tier under that would be Ramaswamy, Haley, Pence, Christie. So all the more reason why we need to see what's going to go on in this debate. But in Iowa right now, Trump is still leading. Not as like blowout of a lead as he is nationally, but he's, I'd rather be in Trump's position at 42 than DeSantis at 19 and Scott at 9. It is interesting to see how Scott has gone from 1-1-3 to now 13-9, and Ramaswamy went from 2-3-2 to 5-6-4. Haley not impressive. Pence a little bit of action. But you could say, like, Pence, man, if you're not doing well in Iowa, like, how the hell are you going to do well anywhere else? And Chris Christie, 5 in Iowa is not bad for him, but 5 versus 42, like, he's going to need a miracle. All right, so that's Iowa. So still looking good for El Trumpo in Iowa. Okay. Nicholas says, oh, wait. Who is Burgum? He is from North Dakota. He was a CEO of a tech company, and I think he was governor. He's actually pretty impressive, but he's a little too kind of like Midwest nice for, I think, the Republican Party. I don't think they really reward that right now. But you can learn more about him on Of the People. Let's see. I'll show you guys how to do that. Of the People. So you go to ofthepeople.us and you can filter by POTUS 2024. You can even filter by Republicans. And you see Doug Burgum actually is a trending candidate on OTP. This is based on recent approval votes. If I go sort by all time, you can see Christie, Youngkin, Haley, Tim Scott, Ramaswamy. they get a lot of approval votes. And then Doug Burgum. Then you can click on him, see a little video about him, a little bit of a bio about him. And then you can see recent tweets, and you can post questions. And then we're going to be adding on the OTP volunteer team the ability to add reviews, kind of like how you review a restaurant. So look out for that. And while I'm here, I should basically also thank all the people who help support the OTP Amazon Web Services hosting costs, our GitHub costs, a lot of the technology software licensing costs. So just so you know, it's an all volunteer effort. And here are some of the people that support OTP of the people. On Patreon, you have Eric Sanchez, Elizabeth Owen, Tony Perella, Aaron Sarnett, Rob, John Perino, Timothy Jordan, Jessica Noen, Trickle Up, Travis Klein, Muhan Jong, Dylan Shell. And then our product development team is myself, Ian, Shay, Aaron, and James. And then we have some previous volunteers as well. And then we also have some previous Patreon supporters. The ones in bold are the most current ones. Okay. What about New Hampshire? Let's see. Think Beyond is saying Bergen's governor is not a big state. I feel you. If you want a big state, you may want to look at Gavin Newsom. Jackson says Christie is looking better in New Hampshire, I hope. Well, you have come to the right place, Jackson. You have come to the right place because I got that data. Here you go. Let's look at New Hampshire. You have Trump ahead by 30 points. Golly. 30 points in New Hampshire. Jesus. That's crazy. And in some polls, he's up by 40 over DeSantis at 11, Christie at 9, Scott at 8, Ramaswamy. So you see there's this whole 10-point group, DeSantis, Christie, Scott, and Ramaswamy in New Hampshire. In terms of over time, in July and earlier this year, hold on, I've got someone's calling me, can't talk now. Okay. In July, Christie was at 1, in March, he was at 1. Then he bumped up to 7 in June and July, and now he's up to 9. So he's moving in the right direction. Tim Scott has a similar trajectory, 1-ish in earlier this year, then 5 plus or minus in the summer, and then now he's at 8. DeSantis actually was at 42 in January, and now he's at 11. DeSantis is like the story of the incredible shrinking DeSantis. Whereas Trump, he was at 47, then 50, 60, then 40, 40, 40, 40, 40, and now he's at 50. Like he's holding up, man. You got to give it to Trump. He was at his weakest, looks like, in early part of this year. March of this year, he was up by 13. January, he's up by 12. Ooh, sorry. My God. In the UNH poll in January, DeSantis was numero uno, ahead of Trump. Man, that sucks to be DeSantis. So, yeah. So, TLDR of New Hampshire, still Trump's to win, with DeSantis likely not doing much better. Maybe if you had to keep your eye on someone, maybe if Christie or Scott or Vivek have an amazing debate, they might move up. We'll see. And wouldn't it be great if, you could see why Trump is afraid to kind of go to the debate himself, because he has only to lose. Now, I would say he has a duty to make himself available to the voters. I think Trump supporters would say, why? The voters already know they're going to vote for him. Why does he have to put himself at risk? That'll only hurt him in the general election. I guess that's what they would say. I mean, it is democracy, and we do want more transparency and competition. So even if you're in the lead, you should show up, in my opinion. You don't get a bye in the debates. It's not like the NFL playoffs or anything like that. All right. So that's New Hampshire for you. Let's move on. I have more data. Who wants more data? Are you guys holding up okay? I feel like I might have brought too much data tonight. So let me know in the comments how much more data you want. I can try and wrap it up in 10-15 minutes, or I can go a little bit longer. It really depends on how much you guys want, but I can pace myself. So while you think about that, let's look at, we did New Hampshire. What comes after New Hampshire, guys? South Carolina. Let's see. How is Trump doing? Jeremy wants the data. I think Beyond says never enough. Nicholas data. Jackson says more. All right. I love it. Steve wants a terabyte. Marion is like, I'm fine. All right. I appreciate it. Well, anybody who wants more data, please like and share, because I'm happy to keep going. Maybe we can get other people to join. We have 11 people concurrently on with us right now. All right. How is he doing in South Carolina? And you're wondering, how come I keep talking about the Republicans? I will talk about the Democrats as well. South Carolina, you have Trump ahead by 30 points, DeSantis, then Scott, then Haley. Isn't Nikki Haley from? Where the hell is Nikki Haley from? Nikki Haley. Isn't she from South Carolina? Why is she doing so badly there? Yeah, she was the governor. I'm pretty sure she was the governor of South Carolina. She was the governor of South Carolina. The search engine has told me. And Tim Scott is also from South Carolina. So both Tim and Nikki are from South Carolina. So they should be clobbering DeSantis. But yeah, this is not a hometown win for them. Even though they have home field advantage, Trump's almost at half of the South Carolina primary voters. And he's actually improved since January. Went from 43 to 46. DeSantis dropped from 28 to 15. But Scott and Haley have dropped. Scott has dropped from 14 to 11. And Haley has dropped from 12 to 10. And then Christie and Ramaswamy went from nothing to 4 and 3.3. So, yeah. I mean, I've actually taken a lot of bets with friends about who's going to get the Republican nomination. And I've easily bet that Trump will get the nomination. And they're like, no. People come to their senses. It's like, no, they're not, man. The people that came to their senses, like, they're not in the Republican Party anymore, or they're not participating in these primaries. The people that participate in these primaries, like, they're locked in. The only thing that is going to be getting Trump out of this nomination will be, number one, some bombshell discovery about his legal troubles. But, like, seriously, he tried to violate the U.S. Constitution, and he tried to remain in office after losing in a Democratic election. Like, what more do you need to see him try and do to pull your support? So I kind of agree with Trump that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and his supporters would stick with him. They'd be like, oh, he's trying to keep reduce crime, or he was attacked, or whatever. So, but maybe there's some bombshell that happens. Maybe if there's another, like, personal matter. I don't think so. I mean, he's paid off all these people already. We all know he's no saint, and yet he still has, like, evangelical support somehow. Maybe because of the Supreme Court, as I think Jackson was saying, or someone was saying in the chat. The other thing, and I would not wish this upon anyone, not even Trump, his health matter comes up, and he physically is unable to serve. But I don't think I would bet on that happening. So yeah, we've covered national, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina. Now let's look at betting odds. Let's see. DeSantis changes his last name to undecided. Such a pathetic field of candidates. Yeah. Respectable is not a thing. Is not a thing in the Republican primary. I mean, look at who's leading. Come on. All right. So putting aside our political beliefs, who do the people who just want to make money think is going to win in terms of betting odds? They think that Trump is the most likely 60% chance of getting the nomination. And Ramaswamy is the second most likely, ahead of DeSantis, and then distant Scott, Christie, Youngkin, Haley, Pence, Carlson, Tucker Carlson, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. So there you have it. And here's the trends. You see, at the beginning of the year, the gamblers thought that DeSantis was more likely than anyone else, and Trump only had a 28% chance, then followed by Nikki Haley and Pence. And then by, let's say, April, basically they crossed paths in late Jan. DeSantis and Trump were tied, Haley at 6. Then you see Trump separate in March, where Trump gets 47% chance and DeSantis 30. Haley's still number 3. Trump keeps number 1, 59. So this in May, 59, 26. Then you get Tim Scott crossing over, beating Haley in end of May. Then Tim Scott and Haley trading third place. Oh, damn thing just refreshed on me. Hold on. Let's see here. Tim Scott and Haley trading third place in June. Then we go to July. Trump, DeSantis, Scott still. And then Vivek in mid-July he's this blue line. He starts going, he takes over third place amongst the gamblers in July 13th. And now he passes DeSantis on August 19th. And right now, the gamblers think that Vivek Ramaswamy is more likely to be the Republican presidential candidate than Ron DeSantis and Tim Scott and Chris Christie. But still, only a quarter as likely as Donald John Trump. So maybe the gamblers are saying, hey, basically there's a 40% chance that something crazy happens to Trump, but most likely not. If it did, they think Vivek is the person to bet on. And I think I would like to say Chris Christie has a shot, but I just know, I mean, looking at the data, the primary voters, the general election voters would prefer Christie over Trump and Vivek, but that's not how our system works. Okay, so that is the betting odds. Who do the gamblers think will become president overall? Let's take a look at that. They think, no, that is the nomination here. They think that, believe it or not, Joe Biden, despite all of his problems, is, even with the Hunter stuff, they think in the general, not in the primary, but in the general, Joe Biden's going to be 35% chance, but not by a lot. He kind of had maximum separation from Trump in late April, and now Trump is kind of holding on at around 27, 28. And then Vivek is number 3 most likely to be president. Then Gavin Newsom. Oh, who would want to see a Vivek Newsom battle? I would love that. I would love to see. And I agree with you, Jackson, that Christie will do well in the debates. Will it be enough to convince the primary voters? Probably not. But I think a lot of general election voters will like to see Christie do well. But how cool would it be if both Biden and Trump said, you know what? Time has come to pass the torch. We have personal matters, health matters, legal matters, whatever. We're pulling out. And we're going to let Vivek and Newsom battle it out. And it'll be like, who would Vivek choose as his VP? Maybe Nikki Haley. Oh, wow. That would be interesting. Vivek Ramaswamy Haley or Ramaswamy Scott? Oh, that would be potent. Ramaswamy Scott versus Newsom Whitmer. Bam. I'm going to give myself a gong for that. Ramaswamy Scott versus Newsom Whitmer. Shh, damn, that would be awesome. Think Beyond says, if Joe wants to lock in a win, he needs to replace Kamala. Well, number one, I disagree. First of all, thank you for the comment, Think Beyond. And thank you for being a longtime viewer. I hope you're a subscriber and you will become a channel member in the future when the time is right. But definitely smash the like button. To answer your question, if he got rid of Kamala, he would definitely not get the nomination. I think he would throw the nomination up for grabs, because I think a lot of his support a lot of African-American voters participate in the primaries, and they would say, hey, you're just throwing Kamala under the bus for no reason. Secondly, so I don't think he would drop Kamala. I mean, if Kamala were dropped or had to pull out for whatever reason, just as for the sake of political nerdsmanship, who would he pick? I think Whitmer. I think Biden Whitmer. I think Whitmer's going to be the hot ticket, man, because she's very reasonable. She's a governor. And then in the back of your mind, you're thinking, wow, she could be president after this term. And I think a lot more people would be comfortable with President Whitmer than President Harris. So, but I don't think Joe's going to drop her. Okay. Jackson says, if Trump wasn't running, Biden wouldn't be running. Yes, that is true. That is true. If Trump wanted, but Trump, we're expecting him to do the selfless thing, and that is the last thing that Trump would do. And frankly, I think Biden really does feel like if Trump is running, Biden has to run. If Trump weren't running, would Biden be running? I think he might not, especially with all the Hunter stuff. So again, we can thank the Orange Man for for this awesome state of affairs. All right, let me now take a moment to thank the people who make this channel possible. These are the people I keep referring to, our channel members. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you too can click the join link and help me pay for our streaming and podcast hosting fees. And by the way, please subscribe on the podcast, because I'm paying for hosting of those fees. Okay, so who's our biggest supporter on the membership side? It would be Soldier One, who has been a supporter for 40 months of this channel. Thank you, Soldier One. He is a senior vice president. Our vice presidents are Bike and Kristen Slevin. Kristen has been supporting the channel for 43 months. Huge. And Bike for 33 months. So amazing. The next level down is Hardcore Nerds. And in order of time as member: Gene, David, DK, Jackalego, Kirsch, Mr. History, Mona, Vaughn, Yang, Dean, Galessa, Jay Perrin, Dana, Jason, Daniel, Mickey, and Unkiyo. Unkiyu. And then the verified level, which is only $1.99 a month, so less than a cup of coffee. Starting with our longest supporters: Lisa, 43 months. Brandon, Sophia, Doris, Emerald, Ben, Ira, Elizabeth, Shoni, Dr. William, Karen, Mai, Brittany, Lori, Juana, Kevin, T, Jeremy, David, Nicholas, Mike, Zig, Roberto, and Jackson. I think Jackson's in the live chat. I think a bunch of you guys are in the live chat. So thank you to all of our members for making this thing possible. All right. Let's see what's going on in the live chat right now. Yeah, Vivek Scott would be a power ticket. I would be, as someone who doesn't want the Republicans to win, I would be, at least today's Republicans. Like, if you were like doing Chris Christie, Mitt Romney, John McCain type Republicans, then I might actually flip back to the Republicans, but that's not the party we have today. I would be scared crapless. I much prefer a Trump nomination in the general than a Vivek Scott. That would be very scary. Especially imagine Vivek Scott versus Biden Harris. Oh my God. It just would be scary. Okay. Let's see. Think Beyond says, I don't see enough and his speaking style. I saw Cornel West live in the late 90s. He came to my undergrad, and he was a very compelling speaker, but he has sort of this like Southern minister kind of style. So I don't think he's gonna do too well, but you never know. I mean, politics is crazy. Okay, so let's see. Now let's move on. Let me reduce some tabs here. Ooh, let's talk about the Democratic nomination. So is Biden really going to get the nomination? And if not, who will? So in polls, so a lot of people say like, hey, don't hate on Trump for not going to the debates. What about Joe Biden? What about? Okay, number one, sitting presidents generally do not debate. If you recall, when President Trump was running for re-election, how many debates did he attend? I'll wait. The answer is 0. So I think you have to go back to maybe Gerald Ford for when a sitting president participated in primary debates. But the other thing is that in the latest poll, in the Emerson poll, Biden is up by 60 points. He's up by more than Trump is over DeSantis. And the reason is Biden's at 69% support, Kennedy's at 9%, Williamson's at 13%. In Fox News, Biden's at 64%, Kennedy 17%, Williamson 9%. So in Quinnipiac, Biden's at 72%. So if you're wondering like, hey, how come Biden isn't doing debates? It's like, dude is up. The majority of the party, the majority of Democrats support him. Now, part of it is because the majority of Democrats only have a few other choices. Kennedy, who I think many of us believe is a little bit out there. Williamson, also a little out there. So like, where's the reasonable, where's the Whitmer? Where's the Buttigieg? Like, they're not here, So, if you're angry at the Democratic Party, I don't think you should be angry at Joe Biden. He thinks he's the only one that can beat Trump. But I do think some people should be in the primary that aren't, and I know why. I mean, basically, like, who wants to run against a guy with 69% of support? you'll be, if you're Buttigieg, you just wait and you got a shot next time. So maybe that's what they're thinking. It's just unfortunate for us voters. Okay, so TLDR, Biden is way ahead. He's got 69% national support within the Democratic Party. Betting odds. What do the gamblers think? Do the gamblers agree that Biden is for sure going to be the nominee? Let's see here. Betting odds are 62% Biden, then 12% Newsom. Newsom has, according to gamblers, a better chance of becoming the Democratic nominee than Kennedy, and then Michelle Obama and Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton, I'm guessing, and then Buttigieg, Whitmer, Sanders. So it's interesting how so many people think Newsom has a shot. And so, like, if Biden drops out and Newsom gets a nomination and it becomes Newsom versus Trump, I think Newsom wipes the floor with Trump. If Trump drops out and it becomes Vivek Scott versus Newsom Whitmer, I think Newsom Whitmer wins, but it's way more interesting. Okay. Steve is saying, yeah, Newsom did kill it in the Hannity. Like, Hannity was freaking like a little baby, like taking candy from a baby. Newsom just like, it was kind of hard to watch what he did to Hannity. Because Hannity's like normal talking points. It's like, wait a minute, I'm not used to people disagreeing with me. It's like, yeah, well, you're not playing with like junior varsity here now. Okay. So that is the betting odds for Biden. Okay, I have a little bit more data. Let me see how many likes we have on YouTube. YouTube. Let's see here. Because I'm up for showing more. Okay, we have 11 likes on YouTube. If we get to 15 likes, I have some more data. I have search trends from Vivek Ramaswamy. I have recent headlines. And I have some approval voting stuff. And I have some voting on who's going to do, some polling on who's going to do best in the debate. I'm happy to share that. Right now, we are at, let's see how many likes on YouTube. We are at 13 likes. This is me sharing my screen of myself. Ooh, this is going to be weird. It's going to be like infinite. Okay, we're going to stop sharing that. So we're at 13. I'll tell you what, either we get to 15, or if there's any super chat or new member, we'll extend this live stream. Otherwise, I'm happy to kind of do another live stream next week, because I'll probably do a weekly update. So here's what we'll do. We're at 14 likes on YouTube. Okay, we got one more like on YouTube. We'll keep going. Or if there's a super chat or a new membership. Otherwise, we will wrap it up, and I'll give you some closing thoughts, and we'll play some closing thoughts music while we decide if we want to keep going. Oh, shit. Jackson. Oh, just as I was playing the going away music, Jackson has delivered. So Jackson, know this, that money goes towards StreamYard and Libsyn. Does not go to my personal lavish lifestyle. So thank you for supporting this content. And everybody, let's give Jackson a thank you. He's going to get a double. He's going to get the cowbell and the gong. Thank you, Jackson. All right. More data coming. More data coming up. Jeremy's like, yeah, bro. All right. Thank you, Jackson. Okay, so let's go to some search data. Web searches. found that this is a chart showing interest and searches for Vivek, Christie, Whitmer, Marianne Williamson, and RFK over time. Last 12 months. Let's look at the last 3 months. And as you can see, you have Vivek and RFK having the most interest. But then you have RFK really having a ton of interest. So RFK is huge in June and July. And then now lately, RFK has started to decline. But the blue line is Vivek Ramaswamy, who was a, kind of really second tier in this grouping. And now there are 10 times more people searching for Vivek than Chris Christie, and 9 times more people searching for Vivek than RFK, and then dozens times more people searching for Vivek than Whitmer and Williamson. Like, Williamson's kind of flat here, no interest, and Whitmer not a whole lot either. Whitmer might be the political kind of junkie's favorite. So look out for Vivek, and then let's see how he's been doing in the last 7 days. So that was the last, I think, 90 days. Last 7 days, you've got, Vivek and RFK, but really that blue line shows you it's kind of like Linsanity for Ramaswamy. He's got a lot of action here. Think Beyond says he's like an Indian Ben Shapiro, rapid fire talking, confident. I think I kind of agree with you in everything you said. And that is very powerful. If you're rapid fire, you sound confident, and you have like elite credentials, but you're attacking the elites, that's catnip, man, in that primary. So that's the search trends. So again, confirming we've got Vivek is definitely getting some action. Now let's look at what's going on. We're going to continue, thanks to Jackson and all of you who hit that like button. Actually, we had 14 likes. We didn't quite get to 15, but we're going to keep going because of Jackson's super chat. Okay, what's in the headlines right now? Let's look in what's going on right now. And as you can see, people are talking about the debate, and PolitiFact did a fact check on Republican candidates' attacks on each other. Well, actually, let's take a look at that. Okay, immigration. Former Chris Christie said Donald Trump never changed one immigration law. Mostly true. No major immigration bill passed during Trump's presidency. That said, they did enact hundreds of changes in policy through executive actions and earned funding. Executive actions can be powerful, but they can also be easily done by new administrations, whereas laws are harder. And remember, Donald Trump had the House for the first 2 years as president. So, I'm not sharing. Hold on. So whenever you hear Republicans talk about the border and immigration, remember that Trump didn't pass any immigration laws. DeSantis says Trump wanted to amnesty 2 million illegal aliens in 2018. In January 2018, Trump proposed a plan that would provide a path to citizenship for 1.8 million people. It was intended to be made in exchange for more legal immigration restrictions and 25 million in border funding. However, it followed Trump's administration's controversial attempt to end DACA. So, just so you know, Trump was proposing a path for citizenship for 1.8 million people who were brought to the U.S. illegally. MAGA Inc., a pro-Trump PAC, says DeSantis voted against the wall, mostly false. An ad in May cited DeSantis' 2018 vote while in Congress against an appropriations bill that included $1.6 billion for fencing. At the time, DeSantis said the bill had been pushed through without enough time for review. Less than a year before, DeSantis voted for a bill that would provide the same amount of funding towards border barriers. He later voted for a bill requiring Homeland Security to build barriers along the wall and co-sponsored a bill. So, where a surprise, MAGA Inc. is mostly false statements. DeSantis, Illinois is now letting illegal aliens become police officers, mostly false. A new Illinois law expands eligibility for becoming officers from only U.S. citizens who are legally allowed to work in the U.S. and own a firearm. This includes legal permanent residents. However, DeSantis' statement ignores that the firearm requirements makes immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally ineligible. So if you're in the U.S. illegally, you are ineligible. Whereas DeSantis he's saying that illegal aliens are becoming police officers. DeSantis, Donald Trump himself wrote a book where he was talking about the need to increase the age of Social Security to 70. Mostly true. Trump's book, The America We Deserve, said we can raise the age for receipt of full Social Security benefits to 70. Okay, so when Trump says that he would never touch Social Security, now his supporters may say like he probably didn't really realize what he was writing because he doesn't really write any of his own books, but a book that includes his name as an author proposed raising the Social Security age. Now, as you know, I do not love Trump. However, I will tell you this, that as people live longer, they are able to work longer. And as people live longer, they're drawing more and more benefits than was planned. So either we have to raise the rate, the age, or we have to increase the Social Security taxes from the working people. Like, if you're not going to do either of those two, like, how does that work? It's just math. You can't keep spending more and taking in less. So in that case, like Trump in 2000 saying, hey, we need to look at reforming Social Security, I kind of agree with him. It's just that right now what he's telling his supporters is just kind of political gamesmanship, and he's lying. MAGA Inc. says says DeSantis pushed a national sales tax. DeSantis co-sponsored fair tax bills 3 times while in Congress. They would have set a national sales tax and replace other federal taxes. So when the MAGA people say DeSantis wanted to have a national sales tax, they're ignoring the fact that he would have reduced the income tax. All right, so basically they're all lying about each other. What a surprise. And the MAGA people are definitely lying a lot. Okay, so now let's look at who is trending in terms of approval votes. And I know we looked at other people, but let's look at both parties here. So in terms of Democratic POTUS 2024, trending on Of the People, and you can vote yourself now if you haven't. Just go to ofthepeople.us in another tab and click on the approve button for whoever you like and sign in, and we'll record it and we'll move them up in the rankings. You got Marianne Williamson, Katie Porter, Bernie Sanders, Cornel West in terms of recent approval votes. But if you go by total, it's Williamson, Kennedy, Porter, Whitmer, and Buttigieg. And if we look at the Republican Party, in terms of all-time approval votes on the Republican side, Christie, Youngkin, Haley, Scott. And if you go by trending, it's Burgum, Scott, Trump, Hutchinson, Suarez, then Ramaswamy. So if you're a Ramaswamy fan, head over to OTP, ofthepeople.us, and support your boy, because he's kind of struggling with the approval votes. That said, I think he'll do better because OTP is basically an open primary, so Republicans and Democrats are allowed to participate. We just filter the results, if you want, by party. Okay, so we're over an hour and 20 minutes, about to lose my voice, but I want to thank you all and encourage you again, if you thought this was useful, to subscribe, because I'll be doing them on the regular. Secondly, share it if you think any of your followers or friends would find this kind of political analysis useful. And thanks again to Jackson for the amazing super chat, and also Patrick Dunn did a super chat as well. So thank you to both of you, and thank you to all of our members for becoming members, and we will see you next time. Oh, God, I've got to play the going away music. Okay. So here's the Tom's summary of the 1 hour and 20-minute live stream. Number one, Trump is probably going to be Republican nominee. Keep an eye on Vivek. Number two, if there's going to be a shakeup, maybe on Wednesday's debate, let me know in the comments if you want me to do a post-debate show or analysis. Number four, looks like Biden's going to be the nominee. He's got over 60% support. At number five, many of us wish that neither Trump nor Biden were the nominee, and many of us would dream of a Vivek Scott versus Newsom Whitmer battle. God, that would be awesome. And oh, Steve says yes to doing a post debate. I'll try. It depends on how much energy I have. I may not be able to do it that night, but I'll do it that week. Or I guess it's this week. This week now. All right. Yes. All right, Jeremy. Yes. All right. You guys want the post debate? I will do it. I'm gonna watch the debate live in the comfort of my living room with popcorn, but then I might live tweet it. So follow me, nerds_humanity on Twitter, or as Elon calls it, X, which, by the way, I keep opening up my Xfinity app now when I try to search for Twitter by accident. Secondly, I'll try and do the post-debate show, and I'll maybe do some highlights of the best moments. Maybe there'll be some post-debate data, some polls, so that might be another reason to wait a couple days. All right, keep it real, nerds. Goodbye, nerds. Thanks again to those super chats. That's awesome. Appreciate the support.